you told a story about seeing Bun Street and Suge Knight get knocked out by a guy named Bruce.
Was he actually fighting himself, or was Bun Street doing the fighting?
They both jumped. They tried to do boom, boom. They lost.
Oh, so this dude Bruce fought both of them at the same time?
They lost, dude.
Okay.
They lost.
Bruce Richardson to me was a dope boy. He's one of the most successful dope boys in the game at that time, like in that era.
And I told Bruce, I said, man, police behind us. We get in the turning lane at an apartment in Inglewood and lit a joint. Right when the police were behind us, lit a joint and looked at me and said, quit panicking. That's Bruce for you, at heart, man.
Suge Knight was without a doubt one of the biggest and most feared names in the game. But even the scariest figures have their limits. Enter Bruce Richardson, a man known for having serious hands and an even more serious reputation.
I was on the other side of the room, but that boy Bruce Richardson beat their ass. You know what I'm saying?
I guess he knew karate?
Yeah. Bad boy. He beat their ass, beat both of them.
Word is, Suge once caught a taste of Richardson's hands, and it got so bad that he supposedly couldn't even step foot in Richardson's territory, the 65th Place Hustler's hood, out of fear for his life. Suge Knight versus Bruce Richardson. The feud between Bruce Richardson and Suge Knight might not be one of the most talked about, but it's definitely one of the most legendary. It's one of those rare moments where a tough guy like Suge Knight not only got a dent in his tough guy persona, but it was also forced to fear a man in a way he never had to before. To think there was a hood that even Suge couldn't step into because of Bruce Richardson? That's wild. So how did it all go down? Well, Suge and Richardson crossed paths when Bruce, with all his resources and connections, started dipping his toes into the entertainment industry. He was managing rap groups, and one of them, Dramacidal, caught the attention of none other than Tupac Shakur. Pac was all in, wanting the group to join forces with the Outlaws as backup performers for his All Eyes on Me album. Bruce, being the sharp businessman that he was, gave his blessing, but he made it clear that Suge Knight would have to give him a percentage of the album's royalties. Suge agreed to the deal, but once the album was finished, he backed out of the arrangement and refused to pay Bruce what he was owed. Now, Bruce wasn't just some street hustler trying to play in the music industry. He had come into the business to build something legit, leaving the streets behind him. But Suge's refusal to honor that deal was a wake-up call. It reminded him that the music industry could be just as ruthless and cutthroat as the streets he was trying to escape. The tension between Bruce and Suge had been building for a while, and things finally boiled over one night at a club. Suge, known for his brash and often disrespectful ways, decided to approach Bruce's girlfriend and, with zero tact, told her to ditch Bruce and come with him. That was the final straw for Bruce. He walked straight up to Suge and, without saying a word, threw a brutal uppercut that put Suge down hard. But Bruce didn't stop there. He followed up with a savage combo, putting Suge on his back for good. And if that wasn't enough, Bruce wasn't done dishing out punishment. He turned his attention to Bun Street, one of Suge's guys, and gave him a beating as well.
Was he actually fighting himself, or was Bun Street doing the fighting?
They both jumped. They tried to do boom, boom. They lost.
Oh, so this dude Bruce fought both of them at the same time?
They lost, dude.
Okay.
They lost.
It took 3 of Suge's goons just to hold Bruce back and drag him out of the situation. People in the club were stunned. Nobody could believe what they just witnessed. It was a rare sight. Suge Knight, the feared CEO of Death Row, getting absolutely handled in front of a crowd. After that night, it said that Suge laid low, making sure not to cross Richardson again. He supposedly couldn't even step foot in Richardson's hood without fearing the wrath of other gangsters who were just as tough as Bruce. 65th Place Hustlers. Now, there's a lot of mystery surrounding Bruce Richardson. Some sources say he wasn't a gangster, just a business-savvy guy with serious money, while others claim he was affiliated with a gang, the 65th Place Hustlers. Not much is known about this gang. No famous rappers or big-time music execs ever came from 65th Place, but word is they were likely a Crip-affiliated clique from that block in the early 80s. Maybe that's why there was no big retaliation after Bruce was killed. He was found shot in his house just 2 weeks after that infamous beatdown of Suge Knight. Some even claim it was the next day.
But then I heard the next day he ended up dead.
Yeah.
The death of Bruce Richardson. At first, when Bruce Richardson was found dead, the cops had their eyes on Buntree and Neckbone. It made sense on the surface. This kind of hit had their name written all over it. That's just how they moved when it came to payback. But as the investigation went deeper, the pieces didn't quite fit the way everyone thought they would. What really had detectives scratching their heads was how the killers even got inside Bruce's house in the first place. See, Bruce's place wasn't some regular crib. It was like a fortress. The man had reinforced steel doors, double deadbolt locks, bars on every window, and a top-tier alarm system that could probably rival what banks use. This wasn't the kind of spot you just broke into. It was clear that whoever pulled this off didn't force their way in, they were let in. And that was the part that had everyone puzzled. Bruce wasn't about to open his doors for Suge's goons or anyone tied to that drama, not after what went down at the club just 2 weeks earlier. But maybe, just maybe, he would have opened it for someone who looked official. There's talk that the killers might have dressed like cops, badges, uniforms, the whole nine. That would have been the perfect way to catch Bruce off guard. The mystery around Bruce's death only got thicker. Not long after he was killed, word got out that Tupac, who had grown tight with Bruce over time, picked up the phone and called Bruce's father. Pac wanted to clear the air. He told Bruce's pop straight up that he had nothing to do with what happened. But when it came to Suge, Pac didn't vouch for him. He couldn't say Suge's hands were clean, and just like that, Suge's name started floating around heavy, even though no one could pin anything on him. There wasn't a shred of solid evidence linking him to the hit, but a shadow loomed over the whole thing. And as if things weren't tragic enough, just 2 days after Bruce was killed, his girlfriend was gunned down too. She was found dead in a car near some railroad tracks. The way it all played out felt like deja vu. Same mysterious vibe, same lack of answers. Like Bruce's murder, hers remain unsolved to this day. And of course, the whispers started. People said Suge might have had a hand in both murders. The word on the street was that Bruce had become too much of a threat, too much of a wild card, and somebody decided he needed to be silenced for good. Bruce Richardson. But who really was Bruce Richardson? Like many street legends, Bruce came from humble beginnings. He grew up in an area folks called Players Land. Just a regular kid from a modest home trying to find his way. But even as a young boy, Bruce had that fire in him. By the age of 8, he was already training in martial arts, and it didn't take him long to get good, real good. Over the years, Bruce didn't just become some backyard brawler. He was a straight-up martial arts master, stacking up gold medals and trophies like it was nothing. But Bruce wasn't just about showing off in competitions. In the streets, his hand spoke for him. He built his name on the fact that he never backed down from a fight, no matter who stepped to him. People say Bruce fought at least 20 dudes in his neighborhood, and let's just say, a good half of them had to take a trip to the hospital after trying their luck with him. Back in the day when the Black Karate Federation was making waves in the area, it seemed like every young dude was either picking up karate, hitting the weights, or, unfortunately, getting caught up experimenting with drugs. It was a mix that led a lot of guys down the wrong path. But even in all that chaos, Bruce Richardson stood out. And it wasn't just because he had hands, though everybody knew about those. It was because he had this natural charisma. People were drawn to him. He had that type of presence where folks just wanted to be around him. At Crenshaw High School, Bruce wasn't just known for being able to fight. The man was a legit athlete too. He played varsity basketball and was popular all over campus. You couldn't walk through those halls without hearing his name pop up in some conversation. But even with all that going for him, Bruce wasn't the type to back down from drama when it came knocking. One afternoon after class, he found himself face-to-face with Big U, another name that carried weight in the neighborhood. Word is the beef was over a woman, and it didn't take long for things to pop off. Bruce didn't wait for Big U to make the first move. He stepped up and threw the first punch, sending Big U crashing to the bushes.
And Bruce walked up, and he like, man, yeah, man, woo, and he talking about the chick. But I ain't really tripping off what he's saying. Then he just fired on me.
Big U wasn't the type to stay down, though. He scrambled out of those bushes ready to go, and the two went at it, turning what started as a one-on-one into a full-on schoolyard brawl. Before long, Bruce's basketball teammates and a few gang members jumped in, and it turned into a scene.
Sitting on the wall, and I fall back in the bushes, and I get to kick, and I kick my way out the bushes. But his first L. No, it wasn't an L, because when we came out the bushes, we whooped everybody.
Now, when it comes to whether Bruce was tied to a gang, that's where the stories get a little fuzzy. Some folks say he ran with the Brimps for a short time, others point out that his house sat right on the mid-love side. But if you ask the people who really knew him, they'll tell you Bruce wasn't officially banging for any set. He had his own kind of pull, his own kind of respect. The guys from the neighborhood looked up to him because of who he was, not because he was tied to any specific gang. He built a following, and that's around the time his crew started calling themselves the 65th Place Hustlers. After Bruce graduated from Crenshaw in '83, he shifted gears. He had one goal: stack paper. And with the crack epidemic sweeping through Los Angeles, he saw his opportunity. Bruce jumped in headfirst, and in no time, he became one of the most successful dealers on the west side of South Central. His operation was tight, and the money was flowing.
Bruce Richardson, to me, was a dope boy. He's one of the most successful dope boys in the game at that time, like in that era.
Within just a couple of years, he made so much that he paid off his childhood home and bought another property right on the next block. Always looking out for his family, Bruce moved his mom out to View Park, Windsor Hills, what folks like to call Ladera Heights, so she wouldn't have to worry about the dangers that came with this line of work. Meanwhile, Bruce set up an apartment in Inglewood where the real business went down. That's where they cooked up product and kept things moving. The money was coming in fast, hundreds of thousands of dollars, but Bruce wasn't stupid. He knew he couldn't just keep stacking cash without a way to make it look legit. So in '86, he made a smart move. He got himself a business license and opened up Genius Hand Car Wash on Crenshaw Boulevard, and Bruce also gave back in his own way. He put guys from the Rollin' 60s on payroll, giving them steady work and keeping the peace at the same time. But Bruce wasn't all business. The man knew how to enjoy the good life. People still talk about how he used to cruise through the neighborhood in his black Mercedes-Benz, clean and sleek with white curtains in the back, looking like a boss. Wherever he went, heads turned. Now people always seem to misjudge Bruce Richardson, but anyone who underestimated him only made that mistake once. Take this one day at Ralph's grocery store, for example. Bruce was standing in line minding his business, buying what looked like a suspicious amount of baking soda, probably enough to supply a small bakery, and to top it off, he was paying with $5,000 worth of food stamps. The scene definitely drew some attention. As Bruce waited, this big dude in line behind him, someone who looked like Debo's long-lost twin from Friday, started getting loud. The guy was irritated, yelling at Bruce for holding up the line, and it didn't stop there. He started clowning Bruce's suit, stepping way too close, trying to get a rise out of him. But Bruce wasn't the type to go back and forth with words. He let his actions talk. Without so much as a warning, Bruce hit him with a clean, powerful front kick that sent the dude flying like he'd been hit by a truck. The guy tried to scramble back to his feet, but Bruce wasn't about to let him recover. He followed up with a flurry of precise punches that dropped him for good. Then, like it was just another day at the store, Bruce dusted himself off, finished checking out, and slid the cashier $200 to make sure no cops got called. Even the most hardened street vets had stories about Bruce that left people shaking their heads in disbelief. One OG once told a tale about a ride he took with Bruce that he'd never forget. They were cruising through the city when the OG noticed they were being tailed by a cop car. Naturally, he started panicking, thinking they were about to get pulled over or worse. He pointed it out to Bruce, expecting him to hit a turn, pull over, or at least show some kind of concern. But Bruce didn't even blink. He calmly lit a cigarette, took a slow drag, and told the OG, "Relax, ain't nothing gonna happen."
And I told Bruce, I said, man, police behind us. We get in the turning lane at an apartment in Inglewood. And lit a joint.
And sure enough, the cops eventually peeled off and nothing came of it. The OG couldn't believe the nerve Bruce had, like nothing in the world could shake him. But Bruce wasn't just about being tough or fearless. There was a generous side to him too. He loved taking care of people around him, whether it meant spoiling them with expensive gifts, helping them out with cash, or just making sure they were good. By this time, Bruce had already made a fortune. Between his crack empire and the legitimate businesses he set up, he had more money than most people could dream of. But Bruce wasn't the type to get comfortable. He was always looking for the next move, that next hustle. Watching Suge Knight blow up as the head of Death Row Records inspired him. Bruce looked at Suge and thought, why not me? He had the money, he had the connections, and more importantly, magnetic personality that could open doors in any industry. So Bruce stepped into the music game. He started managing rap groups, making serious moves behind the scenes, and was even name-dropped on Ice-T's classic track 6 in the Morning. Bruce was carving out his own lane in the music world, making things happen, right up until that fateful drama with Suge Knight. That beef would prove to be his downfall, fueling the whispers that maybe Suge had something to do with Bruce's death. After all, Suge had a reputation for being as ruthless as they come. Fast forward to today, and it's almost ironic how things played out for Suge Knight. The man who once moved like a king in the streets and the boardrooms is now locked down himself. On January 29, 2015, Suge's world came crashing down after a deadly hit-and-run in Compton. It started with an argument on the set of Straight Outta Compton that spilled over to a nearby burger stand's parking lot. By the time it was over, Suge had run over 2 men. Terry Carter, a respected figure and co-founder of Heavyweight Records, who died at the scene, and Clee Sloan, a filmmaker who survived but was left with serious injuries, including fractures and head trauma. Witnesses said it wasn't some tragic accident. They claimed Suge straight up gunned it, mowing both men down on purpose before fleeing the scene. Security footage later surfaced backing up what people were saying. Suge, of course, tried to play the self-defense card, but the evidence told a different story. When it was all said and done, Suge got hit with a 28-year prison sentence, 22 years for Carter's death, and another 6 thanks to California's 3 strikes law. Now, as of 2025, Suge Knight is sitting behind bars at the R.J. Donovan Correctional Facility down in San Diego. He won't even be eligible for parole until October 2034. The man who once had the streets on lock, who ruled over death row like a boss, is now facing a long stretch with nothing but time on his hands.